Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Enactus On Air. I'm Mumini, the president of Enactus ASEC. Enactus On Air is a monthly interview series spotlighting organizations, innovators and changemakers that are willing to take the step forward for a better future. Today, we're thrilled to have Ms. Yuting Jiang, the inspiring CEO of Agora Citizen Network. Agora Citizen Network is an empowering startup that is focused with the mission to empower society and foster great citizenship. Today, let's delve into the journey and the impact that Ms. Yuting is making along with her team. Mr. Yuting, thank you so much for your time and welcome to Enactus On Air.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Ms. Yuting, would you like to introduce yourself and also tell us about your story to our viewers?
Yes, absolutely. So I was born and grew up in China, and I had a very competitive education from 10 years old to 15 years old. We were basically studying all the time. And that's when I decided that I wanted to have more freedom and I wanted to go to the US for college. And so basically, I started applying to American universities. And then I actually found out that New York University has a campus in Abu Dhabi. And so I basically just checked the box. And then they invited me to go on the candidate weekend. So it's basically like to go to the school for an interview. And everything was covered by the university. And so it was like a really amazing experience. And I met so many people from different countries um, for the first time. And I was eventually selected, and we were 300 students from 80 different countries. So it was like truly just an incredible experience. And what I loved the most also was that there was not really a mainstream culture. So everybody was just free to learn about each other's cultures and just be yourself. So I really loved that about that experience. And then I met my partner, and he's French, and that's the reason why I moved to France 6 years ago.
Oh, that's a lovely story and lovely, interesting road of events that led you here. So, if I may ask about how did Agora take birth or how did it start? What is the story of Agora?
Yeah, so we call it Agora Citizen Network. And why Citizen Network? Because we believe that, well, it's been 20 years since social networks were created. And it's one of the most important ways for people to express themselves and to engage in civic participation. However, social networks, as they are today, are not optimized for controversial issues. So it was originally built for keeping in touch with friends, like Facebook, for sharing memes, jokes, and however, their business model, which is based on advertising, it seeks to maximize user
Mhm.
attention. And so most often they really promote content that not only receives the most likes, but also angry responses. So that's when we felt that we need a different kind of social network that is purposefully built for societal issues, which often are very controversial and polarizing.
That's a lovely start for Agora Citizen Network.
Thank you.
But I'm also interested why the name Agora. Does it stand for something, or what was the thought process in choosing it?
Yeah, so Agora in ancient Greek, it literally meant the marketplace. So it's where citizens from the city to come together to discuss local issues, to debate, to exchange ideas, and many philosophies were also born in Agora. So we want to build a digital equivalent of an Agora that not only connects people from the same city, but people from across different parts of the world as well.
That's interesting. So, did this idea take place when you were at school, college, or is it post your graduation? How did it occur?
So it was really in the midst,
Hmm.
I think, in the midst of the AI wave in 2022, 2023, I was working at Microsoft France at the time as an apprentice, and I felt that people were so, I mean, it was super exciting, ChatGPT and all that. And however, we also, with my co-founder, we also noticed that there were more and more bot-generated content
Yes.
on social networks. And whatever we read online, it's just become less and less reliable. And sometimes we don't know if we're speaking to real humans on the internet, or if they're just automated content and fake accounts. So that's why we felt really the urge to build Agora, a different kind of social network with authentic interactions.
That is very mindful idea. So, if I may ask, how will you filter the fake accounts, or how will you authenticate somebody that it's one person and does not have multiple accounts, or trying to do something which is not really helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we try to tackle these issues, we want to do it in a way that respects the user's privacy as well. Because there are networks, or even on LinkedIn, you can scan your passport to verify your account. However, we believe that's not the way to go. And so there is a technology or a movement called decentralized identity or self-sovereign identity, which will allow users to basically own their digital identity online.
Okay.
And they can choose to share which aspect of their identity they want to share with service providers. They can prove anonymously that they are humans, or that they are women, or that they live in Paris, for example, like really to allow users to have very granular control. And this movement is growing all around the world. In the EU, there's the European Digital Identity, which is happening. It will come before 2027. However, what do we do now, since we don't have these credentials yet? We are trying to, well, we are basically partnering with another open source project, and they built an app called Rarimi. So Rarimi is basically a mobile wallet. And if you have a passport that contains an NFC chip, it can transforms the information into a digital credential, and then all this personal data is only stored securely in the user's own mobile phone. So it's never shared with anyone, but they can use it to generate a cryptographic proof that they are humans, for example, and to verify their account.
So this is like one person gets to do only one identity.
Yes, so there is for now it's the uniqueness is really based on a unique passport, and that is a current constraint of this solution. But we believe that the trend is that we will all have digital credentials one day, and this protocol can really turn any credential that you have, um, even if they are traceable by the government, they can turn them into anonymous credentials.
Okay. So, what is your business model look like? How would you describe your business model?
So this is a more complex issues because, well, traditional social networks, like I said, is based on advertising, and it's the easiest way, let's say, or most obvious way to generate revenues. And also, since users of social networks, they are used to have this service for free, and we also believe that it's a requirement because it's such an important space. And so, however, how do we do it in a way that is ethical and sustainable at the same time is something we've been thinking about. And for now, on Agora, data is still the way to generate revenues. For example, right now even though we don't know who exactly the users are, we do know that, for example, these are anonymous residents of Paris, for example. And so this way the data is authentic, is verifiable, cryptographically, but at the same time, we are not targeting individual users. Like we don't know that, oh, this person who he is really, and these are all the personal details about them.
So is it currently geographically, is it only France or are you doing globally?
So yeah, it's global. It's
Oh.
global. Yeah, although we are based in France, we have a growing community that's very international. Yeah, so based on the early user interviews I've done, we have more than 15 citizenship represented.
Oh, that's wonderful. So to find out that this is the problem and you want to solve it, did you have any chance to do initial primary market research, or how did you feel that, this is the problem worth solving? How did all of that happen?
Actually, I find out about a community and also a movement called plurality. So this movement is headed by Glenn Wei. He's an American economist, and it's also headed by Audrey Tang. She was the ex-minister of digital affairs in Taiwan. And so the idea of plurality is that today we are living in a world that's increasingly divided, polarized, due to the misuse of technologies. However, we can also use technologies for good to transform our differences into a positive force. Um, and so that is the plurality approach. We found out about this community in a few months ago, and we really started to feel that it's a growing trend. Well, around the world, democracy is something that is facing increasing challenges and risks posed by AI, and so we felt that it is the right moment to start building in this community.
So that is a huge level of thinking and nice approach. So to do all of it, you might be requiring technical support. You might be requiring, figuring out your financial model. So tell us about your team. How many members are there, and how do you work about it?
So right now, so we have 4 people in our team. Me and my co-founder, he's the CTO, and then we are working with a freelance developer and a freelance product designer. However, 4 people is not enough to build such an ambitious project. But since we are open source, which means that all the code that we write is all available for the public to see and also to contribute. We also collaborate a lot with other open source projects and communities. Remo, the digital identity project that I told you about, we work very closely with their team, and we are also working with other open source communities as well. So I think that's really the power. That's really the power of building in open source.
So what about the funding for your project? So how is that happening? Did you have to contact many investors, or how did you pitch in the idea, and what is the process like?
We are actually very lucky to have received grants from the European Union. So in the EU, there's this really ambitious funding scheme called Horizon Europe, and under Horizon Europe, there is a next generation internet to build the internet of humans, and we are really aligned with the goals of this grant. And since everything we build is open source, is for public good, and we basically just applied, and then we received 167,000 euros. Yeah.
So is it very competitive, or do you think anyone with a good course can apply and still get it?
So it really depends on the size of the grant. Some grants are more, they have slightly larger size, and it's more competitive. However, there are also lots of smaller grants of 10, 15,000 or 50,000. That's really useful to help anyone with an idea to get started. Yeah.
So from starting point to now, since you had good funding and you're progressing, so are there any challenges you faced, and how did you face them, and how did you solve them?
Well, funding was a very big challenge
Mhm.
in the beginning. Um, I have been on chômage, so it's like to receive a unemployment pension in France. I think many founders do that, and that's because of my apprenticeship at Microsoft. I had this opportunity to start up without worrying too much about financials in the beginning, and I think that's one of the greatest things about starting up in France, because this is really like a luxury, and not many founders from other countries have that.
That I agree. I think France has actually got into helping out entrepreneurship. Even you
Yeah.
take Station F, for example, it's providing the whole really good environment to thrive and build up and get your dreams true. So I would
Yes,
definitely agree on that.
absolutely.
On that note, what at what stage do you think your company is currently, and how do you see it maybe in the next 5 years?
So right now we are building the prototype, and we are launching the first version in February next year. So we are super excited about that. And for the next 5 years, I really hope to basically keep growing. And It's a little bit hard to imagine what it would be like in 5 years, but I think next year it will be super exciting when we launch it. We are going to really see how users interact with it. Our ambition is really to rehumanize and depolarize the political and social debates happening around the world. And it's a very big ambition, and I hope, um, yeah, but I'm very hopeful about it.
Me too. I mean, ambitions like these are what exactly the world needs right now. So, when you talk about impact, and also, I assume it is social impact more important, but also financial returns, which has to be there to, for the company to thrive.
Yeah.
So, what balanced, like, how do you balance that? You do create the impact, but also have to keep up the, financial returns. What strategy do you think you would be following to keep that balance?
So right now we are really experimenting with
Mhm.
many ideas from the decentralized or Web3 community. And well, it's not about, I know many people, for example, right now are super excited about cryptocurrency and so on, but I am really attracted by the philosophy behind it, and which is how to align public interest with greed, for example, which is something that is lacking, I think, in the classic capitalistic system. And so I think there's lots of potential there. However, we have, for now, as of now today, we do not have yet like a clear plan. But so our first step is to get users, and we want to really carefully design the business model so we don't fall into a trap, a rabbit hole of just generating profit while sacrificing or compromising on users' rights.
That's an ideal approach, I would say, but it's really difficult to thrive in creating impact, but also trying to make some money.
Yeah.
We do have some questions for you from our Enactus members and some aspiring entrepreneurs. So let me just quickly ask you those. So you are an immigrant founder. What has been your experience so far? And what are the key aspects to keep in mind if one has to follow a similar path like you?
I think being an immigrant founder is, especially in France, is definitely very challenging. Beyond the language aspect, also network is probably the most yeah scarce resource, I think, compared to founders who grew up in this environment. And so I think, well, doing lots of networking is super important, and just we have to be more resilient, more optimistic than other founders.
Oh, okay. So may I take the liberty to ask, how is your French, and do you think that helped you on the way?
I think, well, I've not really done any standard test, but I can work in French. So, I mean, during my time at ASEC, I did both my internship and my apprenticeship in French.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah, I think that really helped. That really helped me, even when I'm trying to start up. Yeah.
I think it also helps because any country you go to, you can't expect everybody to speak English, but it's also a sign of respect, learning the language of the country, and
Yes.
it will definitely give you some good brownie points, perhaps, but it will work, it'll
Yeah,
make you work.
definitely.
So, another question. It says, when you look back upon reflection, is there anything that you wish you could have done differently?
Um, so definitely, because I think starting up is really a learning experience.
Mhm.
When we just started, we basically started building an MVP right away, and without doing too much user interviews. And I think that was a mistake. And now, when we are building the current version of Agora, we are really taking into account the users and potential clients and other, yeah, and trying to get everybody's feedback, even when we just have the idea. And of course, as we are building the product, designing the product, each step we really try to have a very user-centric approach. I think that is super important, and I already see the difference between building this version of Agora Citizen Network compared to a very small MVP last year.
Okay. There is another question, I believe. Being a founder is not easy, but also building a team could be much harder. So, if you have to include people in your team, how would you assess, or what are the criteria in the beginning stage to have people, to have a team member?
Yeah, so for now, we are working with our freelance developer and freelance designer. I think they're absolutely wonderful. So I already know who I want to hire when we either raise fund or yeah. So I think it's really a great way to get to know um, to get to know who you like to work with basically. Um, we didn't choose to hire interns, for example, because at our stage we think we really need expertise,
Mhm.
high level expertise, and at our stage when it was just me and my co-founder, we also could not have the time to properly train the interns. So that's why we decided to work with freelancers. I think it's super important to also find the people who are also very excited and passionate about your project as you are. So that's what I really like about it.
So was finding the right talent or expertise really challenging to you?
Um, actually, it was very organic.
Mhm.
Like I said, when I find out about the plurality movement, and in this community, there are really all kinds of talents. People who are technologists, people who are in social sciences, and I met our freelance designer from there as well.
Okay.
So he himself is very excited about the future of digital democracy. So, and we also met other super talented engineers who are really experienced in the field of collective intelligence and all these kind of ideas. So I think it's like a perfect fit.
Yes, I think it's not just expertise, but also sharing the same vision, which will
Exactly.
make your team really work and
Exactly.
go march forward to get that dream come true.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap up, there's a final Enactus signature question I would like to ask you. So, if you have an infinite amount of money, it keeps growing and coming to you as you spend it. What is that one problem in the world you would like to solve and why?
I think it's a very interesting question because I don't really believe that the current money system is working. And I think as global inequalities grow, we really see that sometimes lots of businesses are making money without creating values to the society. And many things that we do that bring values to the society are not being rewarded. Um, so I think what I would really try to do is to really grow the community, an ecosystem of people who are trying to create a more fair money system. And because I do believe that the world, the resources are enough for all of us, we just need to find better ways for humans to coexist, to organize themselves, and to share the resources.
That's wonderful. I think it's a really, you took a lot of thought to say that, so mindful of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So finally, Ms. Yuting, thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible to know the journey of Agora Citizen Network, and I wish you all the best for your launch, and I'm really looking forward to it on
Thank you.
how it's going to turn out.
Thank you.
Okay, so to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in for the Enactus On Air episode today. If you find this conversation inspired, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And also let us know in the comments below on what do you like about it, and we'd love to hear your feedback from you. Until next episode, stay motivated, stay curious, and keep making difference. See you then. Thank you.
Thank you.